If you're a DoorDash driver, you're eventually going to get a contract violation. In this video, we're going to be covering common customer scams and the resulting contract violations. Sometimes contract violations are the result of driver error, while other times they're the result of a scammy customer trying to get a free meal. Do you know what to do when you get a contract violation? Make sure to stick around to the end of the video so you know how to protect yourself. What's going on, everybody? I'm Zach Drives Fast for the RideShare Guy, and today we're going to talk about common ways that drivers get contract violations and the steps that you can take to avoid them or get them removed from your account. So what is a contract violation? A contract violation is a serious strike against your account, warranted or not, where DoorDash feels that you created a bad customer experience. This can result from excessive lateness or the customer claiming that the order never arrived. In my opinion, there's two types of contract violations: the kind that the driver earned and the kind that they didn't, and there's rarely a gray area. Unfortunately, you're not always going to be able to get unfair contract violations removed from your account. The goal of this video is to teach you how to protect yourself, therefore giving you a fighting chance. While this video is going to talk heavily about customer scams that result in contract violations, I'd like to take a few moments to talk about ways that drivers earn themselves violations. The most common way that a driver gets a violation is to not verify the address when delivering an order. Don't just look at your GPS and assume you're in the right place. Do your due diligence and find an address on the house or the mailbox. If you can't find an address, do yourself a favor and call your customer. Just say something like, "Hey, I think I'm in the right place, but I can't find an address, and I'd hate to accidentally feed your hungry neighbor." The vast majority of people are reasonable and won't have a problem telling you if you're in the right place. Another common thing that could get you a contract violation is when the restaurant marks an order ready for pickup when it's not actually ready. Now, this one is actually the restaurant's fault, but it can negatively impact the driver. The reason this is an issue is because when they mark that order ready for pickup when it's not actually ready, they're essentially telling DoorDash that you should be on your way. Meanwhile, you're still waiting in their lobby, pissing off your customer because they also received a notification that their order was ready for pickup. So why would a restaurant want to mark an order ready for pickup when it's not actually ready? For example, DoorDash has had a lot of problems with McDonald's getting their orders out to drivers late. So when DoorDash renegotiated their contract with McDonald's, they added this clause: if the order is more than 4 minutes late getting to the driver, DoorDash will charge McDonald's an extra 6% in commission. Now, this is isolated, but it tells restaurants that DoorDash expects those orders out in a timely manner. So when a restaurant marks that an order is ready for pickup when it isn't actually ready, DoorDash thinks that the restaurant was on time and the torch should be passed to the driver. If that restaurant made the driver substantially late, it's the driver that ends up with a violation. If you're waiting for an order that isn't ready, mark that it was still being prepared when you arrived. It's something you can point to if you end up with a violation, and it could help you prove your case. If you know that a restaurant has this tendency, you may be wise to avoid that place during busier times of the day or altogether. I'd like to move past the restaurants and talk about multi-apping. More experienced drivers may choose to accept an order on DoorDash and on Uber Eats or Grubhub and do them both at the same time. If that driver isn't exceedingly careful, they could accidentally drive in the wrong direction of a restaurant or one of their customers. It only takes one mistake to end up with a contract violation or a deactivated account. I'm not going to sit here and tell you if you should or shouldn't multi-app, but what I will say is, if you choose to, make sure you know your market and your restaurant wait times extremely well. Let's get into the scammy customers and what you can do to protect yourself. The truth of the matter is, the vast majority of customers that order on DoorDash are honest, and they're not the ones that we need to protect ourselves from. We're going to be discussing a couple of common customer scams that frequently result in contract violations. Number 1, the address change scam. I want to share an experience I had over this last summer. I accepted a mod pizza order on DoorDash for about $15 going around 5 miles. I got to the restaurant only to realize it was going to be a bit of a wait. I marked that the order was still being prepared when I arrived, and I sent the customer a text letting them know I was likely going to be a few minutes late. That part will be relevant in a moment. Fast forward about 10 minutes, I get the order in my car and I drive it across town to the delivery address. This specific order was delivering to a secure building in an upper middle class neighborhood. Using the box at the entrance, I called the customer to get buzzed into the building. I wasn't greeted with the sound of a buzzing door or even a hello. Instead, I was greeted with a slew of obscenities and her telling me she had entered the wrong address into the app. She went on to explain that she accidentally entered her home address when she was actually at a friend's house. Keep in mind, this conversation was not had through the DoorDash app, therefore I would have no proof of the conversation. The customer tried verbally telling me the address that I needed to deliver the order to. At this point, I was mad, as I had tried to communicate with the customer at the restaurant and got no response. I had driven it across town to the delivery address, so the only thing I needed to do was mark it delivered. If you've yet to run into this situation, let me explain why I didn't just mark it delivered. Sometimes the customers do enter the wrong address unintentionally, while other times, it's on purpose. If you take the time to call support, chances are you're going to be given the option of additional pay to drive the order to the correct address. Now, let's get back to my call box conversation with this customer. I didn't recognize the address that the customer was verbally trying to tell me, and therefore I asked her to text it to me in the DoorDash app, which she never did. She just kept trying to tell me it's off of Lakeway Drive. Due to this customer's lack of communication within the app, I called support and requested that they call the customer and get the correct address. This will achieve a few things. It'll get the delivery address updated in the app, so it shouldn't trigger a contract violation when you deliver it late. It also creates a record of the customer requesting the change and potentially pays you more money. Support called the customer and got the correct address, and then they advised me not to deliver the order. The real address was out of the delivery range. Now, a few moments ago, I had mentioned an address off of Lakeway Drive. I happen to know that the only out-of-range location off of Lakeway Drive is Sudden Valley. Now, obviously, I don't expect you to know my market, so let me paint a picture for you. While this community does have an address in the same city as the restaurant, it's really off the beaten path with slow speed limits and windy, hilly roads. I would have been into this order almost 2 hours between waiting at the restaurant, driving to the wrong address at the other end of town, then to Sudden Valley and back. My time is worth more than $7.50 an hour. This customer knew exactly what she was doing. Unfortunately, she got a driver who also knew what he was doing. Taking this order to the updated address likely would have resulted in a contract violation for 2 reasons: excessive lateness, and due to the lack of communication within the app, she could have claimed that I delivered to the wrong address. If at any point your customers aren't willing to communicate address changes in the in-app chat, call support and have them get the real address. It's a cover your own ass thing. Furthermore, if they do text you the correct address and you're willing to do it, but it's going to make that order substantially later, do yourself a favor and call support and have them update your delivery time within the app. Now, I've only run into this situation once on DoorDash in 3 years, but if it can happen to me in a very nice neighborhood, it can happen to you just about anywhere. Have you ever had a customer try to change the address on you? How did you handle it, and how did it play out? Let us know in the comment section. Let's move on to our second scam. Order never arrived. This is a very common customer scam on every delivery platform. Fortunately, I haven't had this happen to me yet on DoorDash, but I did have it happen to me when I was brand new to Uber Eats. The only reason that I wasn't deactivated is because I was able to prove that I was where I was supposed to be. If you do a quick search on YouTube, it's full of videos of shifty people getting full refunds for orders that they did in fact receive. Unfortunately, DoorDash doesn't ask many questions. A customer reports that the order didn't show up, they get a refund, and the driver gets a violation. One of the more brazen ways that customers pull off this scam is to request a no-contact delivery, but then come out and grab the order from you before you have a chance to take a picture. Now, it's important to know, the vast majority of people who do this are not going to scam you. They're probably just hungry. And the ones that aren't trying to scam you will have absolutely no problem with you taking a picture of their house number in the DoorDash app right in front of them. Just explain to your customer that you need to grab a picture to complete your delivery. In the event that they do take issue with you grabbing a picture, that's a major red flag. Do your best to snag a picture of their house number on their mailbox or on the building itself when the customer walks away. Anything that can help you prove that you were where you were supposed to be. If they don't want you doing that, there's probably a reason for it, and that reason very well could result in a contract violation. Now, of course, the customer isn't always going to try to come out and grab the food from you. This is just a tactic to try to avoid the picture. They can just as easily say that's not their house in the picture, which brings us to our final scam. The customer reports that they didn't get the order on a no-contact delivery. I know a couple of drivers that wear a body cam when they're out delivering, and this is a great option if you're comfortable doing it. Just make sure you know your state's laws, as some states do require both parties' consent to record. The option that I choose to go with is just to take pictures. I've gotten so good at this that the customer could be standing there waiting for me and not realize that I took a picture of their house number or mailbox on my way up to them. To them, it just looks like I'm sending a text. When I have a leave it at the door order, I make sure the house and or apartment number is visible whenever possible. Keep in mind, these apps do track where we are, so sometimes just the apartment number will be sufficient to protect yourself. Having said that, getting a picture of the apartment building number is never a bad idea either. Now, sometimes the customer will message or call the driver after the delivery saying that they can't find their order. How you choose to handle this is ultimately up to you. But if it were me, I'd tell them that I have a picture of the house number or anything relevant and ask them if they'd like to go check for their food again or if I should just go ahead and send those pictures off to DoorDash. Something else worth mentioning. If the customer calls you after the delivery is complete, you are under no obligation to answer that phone call. You did your job by taking something from point A to point B. Anything past that is completely at your discretion. At the end of the day, we can't control the actions of scammy customers or DoorDash, but we can take steps to protect ourselves. If something seems off to you, just follow your gut. Have you ever gotten a contract violation that you didn't deserve? And were you able to get it removed from your account? Let us know in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, please do consider pressing the like button and subscribing to the RideShare Guy. If you enjoyed this video and you also drive for Uber Eats, you may also enjoy this video where I break down Uber's new terms of service and what they mean for you. I'm Zach Drives Fast for the RideShare Guy. Take care.